want to briefly discuss ST openers. Slight disclaimer, this is simply how I personally approach ST stacking. That isn't to say there aren't other ways to do it, but we're just going to be talking about how I approach it. So ultimately, the goal of an ST stacking opener is to create a board state that's conducive to ST midgame. If I were to break it down, I would do 3 goals. The first one being to build the first T-spin. Then you also want to establish a flat bed on which you can start doing the chip tooth pattern stacking. And then the third goal is to waste T. For volume reasons, it's necessary to waste T. And for parity reasons, it's necessary to waste 2T if you want a clean board state. So for an ST scheme, you're going to do the first T-spin with a Z-prop. And as for the bed for the chip tooth builds, you'll want it to be too tall so that it accommodates the T at the right height. And you'll want it to be 3 wide so that it can accommodate these 3 wide chip tooth builds, right? So how do you build this 2 tall, 3 wide thing, rectangle? For me, the simplest way is to do it with an O piece and then some other 2 tall block. So this could be an S, it could be an L, or it could be a J. There's other ways to do it, but OS, OL, and OJ are, for me, the simplest. So with that in mind, I have 7 openers prepared, and they together have 100% coverage, which means that for any first bag, you'll be able to do one of them, guaranteed. Now, we're just looking at bag 1 for now. Note that you'll still have to do stuff in bag 2 because you waste 2T in your opener. But for now, we're looking at the first bag. So here's the 7 I have prepared. You'll notice that for the first 4, the T is at the top. The idea is, for parity reasons, to keep the bag 1 T in hold as long as possible so that you can try and place it with the bag 2 T so that you're in odd parity for as little time as possible and you maximize your time in even parity, because even parity good, odd parity really sucks for stacking. So looking at the first 2, I would characterize them as I base. So you do it when you have early I. You do an I flat here, and then you do the 3 wide bed with J and O. You can also do it with S and O, but I just have J and O here in these images. Note that you can also do it with I after the J with an I spin. So for an example, you can I spin, and then you start ST stacking. So these first 2 are I base for generally early I. I generally freestyle with these openers. I don't strictly do this exact pattern. Those are just examples. The next 2 I do strictly do, and I really like this. These 2 are my favorite. I would characterize these as JL base and SL base. You'll notice that they make the same shape. So for example, that's a JL base. And your ST stacking, right? I really like these 2. So the next 2 are generally just for early T. Early T is pretty bad. It's hard to keep T in hold the whole time. So you have this T, and then you have OS as the base. Preferably try and keep L or J in hold, and just look at bag 2 and consider your options. This is honestly not a good opener. And then this one, also early T, you do LO for the base. You try and keep J in hold. Ultimately, this L placement basically forces a T dependency, and the J placement basically forces a Z tuck. And then the final one, this one just has really high coverage. You'll notice 87% coverage. It's really high. It's actually not necessary to learn, but I find that the field is pretty good. Almost as good as 3 and 4. Yeah. So how do you approach bag 2? Specifically, yeah. Let's do an SL based one. So how would I approach bag 2? The idea is on the left side you want to fix parity as soon as possible. And I notice the T and Z are at the end of the bag, which is not great, but we make do. On the left, you do the T and Z, and on the center, you basically do the pattern stacking, right? Like so. Specifically looking at bags 3 and 4, I have prepared specific bag 2s, which you'll notice also have 100% coverage. So one of these 4 builds is guaranteed to work on bag 2, which is pretty nice. Specifically if you use this opener, 3 and 4. That's why I've mapped out. It's LJ. Right, there we go. That's the first continuation. The idea being left side, you want to fix parity, generally using Z and T and I. And on the center, you just do the pattern stack, the chip tooth stuff. This one, if you don't have Z available, you just fix parity with T. Pretty nice. Let's look at more examples. Let's try more bags. Alright, so here we have early T. What can we do? Number 6, I think. Maybe not. Early T, honestly, is just so bad. Maybe number 5? There we go. So there we go. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. This one, for me, I see opener 7. Right? Then you can fix parity with that. And then you're in ST stacking. I don't know what to do from here, but whatever. We'll move on. I can do opener 7 again with a J tuck. There we go. SL. You can generally freestyle the bag too. Just keep in mind, be very careful about fixing parity, and then you can just pattern stack the chip tooth stuff in the center. LJ. LJ again. Oh, that's a misdraw. So this is I base, right? Cool. so this one, number 7. This kind of T dependency and Z dependency sometimes happens, but you know, you can make them work. So yeah, that's my view on ST openers. I prefer 3 and 4, but I know how to do 7, and I know how to do I-based ones. And if I really want to force ST, I will do 5 and 6 if there's early O or early T. But generally, if I get early T, I just won't ST stack. Yeah, and for bag 2, the idea is you fix parity with a Z and T, and you can generally pattern stack the right with the standard chip tooth builds. Yeah, that's my ST openers. Bye.